What kind of mother would do that to her son? Turn him into a prostitute so you could pretend to be something more than what you are, which is nothing more than a Philly whore. You're a bigger whore than they're making your son out to be. That's for sure. And when the truth is, she wasn't nothing but a drug dealer's whore. That's all she ever was.
Young boy, see, this is what I'm saying. This is how we do. He says Uncle Will. He says Uncle Will. I know. We need to start right here. This is how we kick this thing off.
Being a celebrity sometimes comes with, like, everybody wants to be successful in a celebrity and stuff like that, but it comes with, you know, bullshit sometimes, and, you know, that's the only thing that I hate about it.
Bryshere Gray is finally coming out of hiding to spill the tea about what Diddy and Will Smith apparently did to him when he was just 17 years old. And the details are not only disturbing, it's actually disgusting. Apparently, they were passing him like a piece of meat when he was just 17, and they were all taking turns sleeping with him till his private parts were worn out and severely bruised. What's worse is after they were done with him, they pushed him out of the industry, and he is now on OF, doing the only thing he knows how to do, and that is to indulge in freak-offs with complete strangers in exchange for a $2 subscription to his page, according to several industry insiders, including Jaguar Wright. His mama and manager were allegedly also in on it, and they profited thousands of dollars from selling him off to Diddy and his associates to have their way with him. In fact, word on the street is Bryshere was the one Terrence Howard was talking about in his recent interview when he said once any man in Hollywood allows another man to bend him over in exchange for anything, they are basically selling off their manhood. In fact, Terrence went on to explicitly accuse Diddy of trying to sleep with him. This was confirmation to a lot of people that Diddy definitely touched Bryshere, because not only did the entire interview sound like Terrence was hinting at what happened to Bryshere, but if Diddy was brave enough to try to get with Terrence, then he would have most definitely tried to get with Bryshere.
Lose your man card. That's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
And now when it comes to Bryshere, his story is really sad, and everyone agrees that the industry definitely did a number on him. But now for those of y'all who don't know, back when Bryshere was still a minor, he was introduced to Will and Diddy by his then manager, Charlie Mack, for them to be his mentors since he wanted to be an actor and a rapper. Will was basically supposed to be his mentor for acting, and Diddy was supposed to be his mentor for his rap career. However, word on the street is they occupied their time with him by playing with his private parts instead of mentoring him. Jaguar Wright was the first person to blow the whistle on this mess, and she called both Diddy and Will out for allegedly using their so-called mentorship to lure young boys into inappropriate activities against their will. Jaguar even spilled the tea about the time Bryshere and Meek Mill were heard by Will's neighbors running out of Will's house with no clothes on and screaming for help after a rough, nasty freak-off session.
Bisexual, they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bryshere Gray, left that house screaming. August the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed a dog.
Bryshere has never been the same since he got out of that mentorship, and that's because no mentorship actually happened. His body was used, flipped over, tossed to other people, and once they were done having their fun with him, they threw him out of the industry and moved on to their next victim. In fact, right after his relationship with Diddy ended, he was constantly in the news for everything else but his career. And it's crazy because if they had actually mentored him and protected him, he would have been one of the biggest actors right now. He was literally on one of the biggest shows on TV at just 17 and was being labeled as the next big thing in Hollywood. Then suddenly, he went from all that to to a raging substance addict and getting into trouble with the police every 1 to 5 business days. For example, in 2022, he was arrested and found guilty for aggravated assault against the woman he was hooking up with at the time. But this wasn't his first run-in with the law, because back in 2020, his wife was rescued by a man at a nearby gas station after she had gone there asking for help. She told the police that Bryshere had strangled her and put his hands on her continuously, till she kept going in and out of consciousness. When the police pulled up to his house to arrest him, he refused to come out of the house. It took hours of negotiations between the SWAT team and Bryshere to get him to come out of the house. And when his mugshots were released, people couldn't help but point out how different he looked. This was when people started to piece everything together and realize just how much damage the industry had caused him.
Empire. Tonight we're seeing hours of new video from his July arrest that ended with his wife flagging down police and telling them the actor had a for hours inside their Goodyear home. The bizarre jailhouse interview lasting for 2 hours as they try to piece together a chaotic chain of events. Jaguar
Wright came back again not too long ago, and this time she went into more details about what really happened to Bryshere. She confirmed the rumors about Bryshere's then manager Charlie Mack having a hand in the whole thing by being a link between Bryshere and the people who were touching him. But this is where things got even crazier. Jaguar also revealed that the reason that Charlie was able to pull that off in the first place was because Bryshere's mom, Andrea Mayberry, was also in on it, and she allowed everything to happen.
Say, Andy, I'm talking about Bryshere's mom. I'm gonna kick you in your in and I'm gonna go to work North Philly style. You and Charlie. You happy now? He's a gay star. Are you happy now, Andy? For a book that didn't sell? I hope that new husband of yours leaves you. And maybe it's time you tell your son why his father is really in jail, his biological father, for all of his life and what you had to do with it. You CI. I'm sorry.
Jaguar claims that at the time that all this was happening, Andrea came to her begging for help, and she told her to get Bryshere away from Charlie Mack since he was the link between Bryshere and Diddy. But Andrea did nothing and allowed Diddy and Will to allegedly keep messing with her son until there was nothing left of Bryshere. At that point, Bryshere had already been turned out and was doing substance to cope.
That came to me and begged me for my help. I told her to get the fuck away from Charlie. I did everything that I could do to get Bryshere, to help her get Bryshere out of California into Chicago safe to be ready for filming. She knew she knew what Will did to him. But because of Charlie, see? And Charlie had promised her all kinds of things. And all she had to do was pretend to be a broken down single mom who worked her way up through the ghetto and raised a superstar for television, when the truth is she wasn't nothing but a dealer's. That's all she ever was. She went from dealer to dealer, and then she snitched on whoever she needed to snitch on until she could get to the bigger bag, until she got with Larry Lair, my friend who raised Bryshere in $1 million home. Your whole book is lies, Andy, and I hope anybody that bought it asks for a refund and demands it comes out of your pocket every time they see your son's gay. You and Charlie Mack.
She also went on to allege that Bryshere was in talks with lawyers to file a lawsuit against Will and Diddy for what they reportedly did to him. She claims that Bryshere has been at this for a while, but he hasn't found a good lawyer to represent him yet because the industry is actively trying to silence him. Jaguar even went as far as claiming that there is a secret tape of Justin Bieber, Will, Jaden, Diddy, and Bryshere having a freak off, and she is one of the few people who has seen it.
See, they trying to slay him out so he'll feel too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him. With Jaden and Justin present, that tape exists.
Okay.
I really hope none of that baby oil was used on those kids. That would just be in bad taste. Baby oil on babies.
You can't say that the flavor camp was sponsored by Johnson and Johnson. You just come on, come on.
Starting to sound that way, ain't it?
No.
All that talent, and and she let Charlie tune that boy up on, knowing that he was bipolar and had ADHD. What kind of mother would do that to her son? Turn him into a prostitute so you could pretend to be something more than what you are, which is nothing more than a filly. You're a bigger than they're making your son out to be, that's for sure. Because he didn't have no choice. You was down by all.
Now, when it comes to the exact lawsuit she's talking about, people believe it's the $50 million lawsuit against Diddy and Will, which Bryshere was previously reported to be working on. Around the time he was allegedly preparing to file, a $50 million lawsuit was revealed by a blind item, and it read, "I suspect the soon-to-step-forward male victim of sex. This A-list mogul will not be the last man to do so. Sean Diddy Combs." Judging from what Jaguar was saying, Bryshere was basically forced into doing OF, and he has now decided to make that his full-time job, because if we're keeping it a buck, it's over for him in Hollywood. No one is going to put him in their movie after literally seeing him spreading his cheeks on the internet and getting intimate with a bunch of other men and trans women. They succeeded in damaging the hell out of him, and from the looks of it, he has no other choice but to keep doing OnlyFans. As usual, people had their own thoughts, like this person who said, baby, they took advantage of him. They saw stars in his eyes and basically wanted to give him the world, quote unquote. They played him because he wouldn't do what they wanted him to do, and if he did do what they wanted him to do, he turned up as an individual whose service was no longer needed in the industry. I'm starting to believe that Jaguar Wright, Gene Deal, and Orlando Brown is onto something. Another person said, I believe in Bryshere. It's not his fault that they took advantage of him. Bryshere just wanted to do well for himself. You can see that. And for things to be taken away from him, it's not fair. He should be given another chance without people taking advantage, and show the industry that he is a good actor and a great rapper, which is. I hope people don't forget about Bryshere, because he is innocent and his dreams were taken away from him, which is unfair and not his fault. But now I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Bryshere getting violated by the industry? And do y'all really believe the allegations Jaguar made about Will and Diddy? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to click here to watch this other messy video.